Let's go to the Dairy Max Built by Chocolate Milk hotline and bring in the head coach of the 6A Division II state semifinalist, Beaumont Westbrook Bruins. We go to the 409 to say hello to Coach Eric Peevey. Coach, how are things in beautiful Beaumont, Texas?
Living the dream, baby. Living the dream.
I imagine. What is the vibe around the program right now? This is obviously you guys had. This was a goal of you guys to get this far, and obviously to make one more step. What is the feeling around the program right now?
We got a little saying here at the Brook: every day's a holiday, every meal's a picnic, and there's a lot of love here at the Brook right now. I'm telling you, man, it's easy to go to work at this point. I tell you that.
I want to go back to last week. You guys play a very game Cy Creek team, a team that I think was a lot better than maybe their record indicated.
Oh yeah,
and you guys were able to pull away from them with a couple of big plays. Going in there, knowing that you guys were probably a slight favorite, but at the same time knowing what you were up against, what was your message to your kids going into that regional final game against Cy Creek?
Well, I'm going to tell you, the problem was all the kids, they heard everybody talking about their record and Cy Creek's record, and I'm watching the film, and I'm watching them lose their 5 games to all playoff teams. I mean, the teams they lost to were freaking good. And at the same point, I saw their team get better each week, and their defense, I tell you, man, their defense coordinator did an unbelievable job. 33, their middle linebacker is the best linebacker we've seen all year. Between him and number 7 for St. Straight Jesuit, the Bush kid, those two, they could both play, but they did a great job, great scheme. I knew they were going to try to take LaRaven from running the ball away. I knew they were going to try to take our inside run away. So we knew we needed to jump out fast. And at the same point, when you're watching film, and we got to go scout them versus Summer Creek and saw that they snapped the ball every 7 to 8 seconds. And then people just don't do that anymore. That was a big thing that you saw about 3-4 years ago. Everybody was going Oregon style, Texas Tech, fast paced. Everybody's bringing that H-back in and slowing things down a little bit, our 2 tight ends, and they're still doing it. And so we, one thing we can play over here is we can play a little 7-on-7. So when we saw that, we knew that we needed to get some packages in, some 2-man, 1-man, and we just try to keep the noise from our kids' ears as much as possible about, hey, they're not very good. And, we just, all you got to do is show them the film, and they realize real quick they're pretty good.
Last year, your first year there at Westbrook, and an up and down year. You guys make it to the playoffs, losing the first round. Obviously, something's different this year. What is it about this year, this year's squad that's different?
Well, a lot of these seniors, 3 or 4 of them were on varsity for us as sophomores. And the 6A level, when you go into a game with a bunch of sophomores on the team, makes you nervous. We were able to go 3 rounds that year, but and then last year we returned a lot of those guys. But, when you face a team like Longview first round, I think last year there was a lot of positive and negative. Positive is for us this year is last year got us conditioned to travel. I mean, when you were in that Conroe district for us, every game was 2.5 hours away, and that first round playoff game was a 3-hour and 45-minute drive for us. And it was 7.5 with Longview, and then I just saw our energy level kind of go down. And when we came back here and our travel is only an hour and 15 minutes a game, it feels like it's next door. So our kids have really got attrition to that. And at the same point, they saw that the teams that we struggled with, we're not the biggest team by any means. We're a lot smaller than a lot of teams that we face. And so we knew that we always going to have speed here. That's one thing that we have. So we don't even work it. We knew that we had to get in the weight room. We had to get after and get as strong as we physically could. And we really preached on aggressiveness and getting in the weight room and getting on the wrestling mats and getting after there. And every kid in our program has to run track. So that's the speed part of it. We take that away. But during the period, really working on our strength side of it.
Last week, it was really, for all we talk about your offense, and I certainly want to talk about a number of your guys, it seemed like your defense really stepped up big last week against a team with some weapons. Do you get the feeling that your defense is starting to play at a different level right now when it matters most?
Yeah, and that's the big key is I think that Katie Tompkins was a type of team that a lot of people overlooked, and oh man, Coach McVeigh's done a great job over there, and the talent they have, that tailback they have over there is very exceptional, and their offensive line was huge. I mean, it seems like every Katy school's got the biggest offensive line in the world. I don't know where they get that many kids in one school district that can play O-line, but they gave us some problems, and they did some things, and we didn't adjust very well to it. So our kids played with the chip on their shoulder, just like a normal high school kid does, and anything they get embarrassed, they want to come out out and prove that they can play at a higher level. And I think they had a major chip on their shoulder last week, so it was easy for them to get fired up for the game.
We're talking with Eric Peevey, the head coach of the Westbrook Bruins here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Of course, there is the other side of the ball, and you've got a special guy taking the snaps. LaRaven Elliott is a 3-year starter, a guy who has really grown into this role. From your perspective, I think people by now know what a superstar he is. How have you seen his game change, maybe in the time that you've been coaching him?
Well, his sophomore year, he'll tell you, he really did. It was such a blur. He really didn't know what was going on. He just said, I'm going to take a snap, and I'm either going to run it or throw it where Coach told me to throw it. And it worked out well for him a couple games. I mean, I think he had 700 yards and like 7 touchdowns against Lufkin his sophomore year, and that's not easy to do. And then last year as a junior, there's more film study going into it, more things. We put more things on him, and, he had some big games. And then this year he had shoulder surgery over the summer, and, I mean, he didn't get released to the day before two-a-day started. And so it really was a late process, getting in there, finding the doctor, all that stuff. And so when he came in, his arm strength definitely wasn't where it needed to be. He was out there in a lot of the off season. And so we sat him a few times, and a lot of people give me heck over that stuff. But I like the 2-quarterback system, especially early in the year. You never know when you have to use your second one anyway. And so our junior got a lot of reps early in the year. I mean, I think he ended up throwing for over 1,000 yards, and LaRae took some snaps. And then we kind of hit a little bump in the road there for a couple games where he didn't play at all. And then we were able to get him back in versus LaPorte. And since then, he's came back completely focused. And his arm, the biggest thing is his arms, completely healed up, and his arm strength is back. And when he's at full speed with his legs, we can really stretch the field sideline to sideline and use all of our weapons.
Another interesting thing for me about, for you guys is that last week you guys go into NRG Stadium and you and you play on the big stage. And I know that there's a lot of programs, Westbrook hasn't played at a stadium like that in a couple of years. These kids haven't. How do you feel like they handled that moment, that spotlight and that stage, knowing full well that, with any luck, 48 minutes from now, you guys are going to be playing on the biggest stage?
Yeah, well, it was huge. I think the week before, that was our second time we got to play Katie Tompkins there the week before. And, that was a major part, I think, for us being down 21-0 in that game is our kids came out in that first quarter and really just didn't know how to react. And so everything was going nuts. And we got down 21-0 and they came back and we were able, fortunate enough to win that game. And, playing there again the very next week, I could just tell completely just a complete change in our kids in pregame. They understood it, and I'm looking at, Cy Creek at that time in pregame and noticed that they kind of had the same big eyes that we had the week before. And it's different. I mean, you could talk about all you want to, and the big saying around here is, hey, all we need here is a field and a ball. It doesn't matter if it's, we don't have turf where we practice at. I mean, we pretty much practice it in the swamps over here. I've got more ant bites and mosquito scars on my legs this year when it rained 30 days in a row than I've ever had. But, when you go out there and you get in a big stage, it doesn't matter. The kids' eyes are going to get big, and I think it's huge. I think playing at that stadium 2 weeks in a row, and if we have the opportunity to go and play at Cowboy Stadium, I think it's a very big opportunity because it helps us out.
We're talking with Eric Peevey of Beaumont Westbrook here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. All right, Coach, let's move to Saturday, 4 o'clock at Legacy Stadium in Katy. You guys draw the Austin and Westlake Chaparrals, a program with obviously a ton of pedigree, a program that in many respects needs no introduction, but you guys are in it, and you guys are going to have a terrific shot to get to a state championship game. I'm not going to ask you to give away your game plan, but when you look across the field and you see the Chaps, what are you up against?
Well, I mean, you could help me with this, but I'm pretty sure the last 4 years they've played in this game.
Yeah.
They played the state championship against North Shore. They lost to Cy Ranch, they lost to Cy Fair, but it was all in this game. And here's their 4th year in a row to play in this game. So that's all you got to know. Coach Todd Dodge, who's from this area, he's kind of a little legend around this area. Everybody talks about him as a young coach. That's a guy I look up to, and a guy from Southeast Texas that hopefully one day I can coach at his level. And my deal is it's just our kids know. Our kids don't have to talk about it. I've got kids coming to, hey, Coach, there's like 3 of their former players in the NFL right now. Yeah, the quarterbacks are pretty good. So, I mean, and so when people talk about, hey, their starter's hurt, well, that doesn't mean anything. And and Westlake, the 6-year-olds are going through quarterback training school. So they're going to have another guy that can get in there and throw the ball. And what's really impressive is just how well their defense is playing right now. And I don't care what league you play in, what region you play in, when you have 6 shutouts and you have multiple multiple games where you held people 7. That takes a lot of work. I mean, shutouts are hard to come by, and they do an excellent job. Their defensive line just plays with such aggressiveness and technique, and their middle linebacker's a player, and they just do things right. They're very, they fly to the ball, and then, you don't see very many high school teams that have like 6 punt formations. It's like, guys, come on. Do we really need 6 different ways to punt the ball? But, we're trying to get ready and do what we do. And the amazing thing is I don't even think it's hit our kids yet. We're talking about the coach's office. Our kids are just going to practice. This is the 18th week we've been practicing together, and our kids are just going to practice like it's another deal. And here's an opponent going through a scout deal. I don't even think it's really hit them yet. And so hopefully we can just keep going, and that's the way it acts.
And finally, Coach, I know you got a lot of work to do, so we'll leave you with this. The 409 is a how do I put this nicely? It's a city. It's an area full of football crazy people.
Yes, it is.
You guys there's a lot of passion down there in the greater Beaumont area. You guys obviously have a big game and a chance to make some history and get back to a state championship game. Westbrook, of course, has a title under their belt. But what would a win on Saturday mean, and a trip to AT&T Stadium mean, you think, for this community?
Well, the biggest deal over here in Southeast Texas, year in, year out, you're going to have the Newtons of the world who have probably 8 kids that could come start for us right now. I mean, they are freaking loaded. You got West Orange Stark and what Coach Thompson does over there, and you've got the smaller schools year in and year out there represented, and there's a lot of bigger schools. Like you said, there's a lot of schools in these small rural areas that play a lot of football, a lot of passionate fans, and I think it really is big for our area to say, hey, from the largest level down to the smallest level, we can still play football here in Southeast Texas, and we might not be in the big cities or be anything like that, but hey, we could come out and we could play, and we don't have all the extra stuff, but our kids still have a passion for the game and still work their tails off, and I think it would be a huge accomplishment for us, and I think it'd be a huge accomplishment for the city, and everybody's jumped on board, so I'm excited for it.
It's going down 4 o'clock Saturday at Legacy Stadium in Katy, a 6A Division II state semifinal matchup between the Austin Westlake Chaparrals and the Beaumont Westbrook Bruins and their coach, Eric Peevey. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on all your success so far, and go get them on Saturday.
I appreciate it, man, and go Bruins.
There he goes, Eric Peevey, head coach, Westbrook Bruins. I like that guy.
Oh, yeah.
I like that guy.
Hard not to root for them.
He's talking about the ant bites, talking about the mosquito bites. I like it. I like it a lot.
It's pure Beaumont.
And you get down there, I'm telling you, man, look,
that's pure.
At this point, you can't lose with a crowd at AT&T Stadium in 6A Division II.
Oh, yeah.
You're either going to get Tascosa or Longview, or you're going to get Westbrook. Mm-hmm. Like the whole Beaumont area is coming. The whole 409's coming to Arlington.
Yep.
Or Westlake. I mean, we're gonna have a big crowd for 6A Division II.
You're getting some good fan bases.
We're gonna have some big fan bases. But anyway, it's really exciting to see what they're doing. And yeah, look, this is a team that's ready for prime time, and they've showed it last week. Big win over Side Creek. They are now through to the state semifinals. We appreciate Coach Eric Peevey taking a little bit of time for us.